in Ireland in about the 1850s. Ireland at the time was almost a one-crop agricultural society. A plant pathogen called Phytophthora infestans decimated the potato crop. The loss of the potato crop caused massive starvation. Nearly 1 million people died of starvation, and another 1 million or 1.5 million emigrated from Ireland, many of them to the United States. And that is literally where our Irish population came from in about the 1850s. Without Phytophthora infestans, we would not have the Notre Dame University. The Fighting Irish are a direct result of mold.
We've had a building boom in the last few years in this country. And it's great. A lot of people are reaching their dream of owning a home. And yeah, there is not enough skilled labor to build the houses and build the buildings.
It's very difficult to control the quality, especially when you're building mass-produced houses.
I think too often these days the architect has become an exterior decorator and has forsaken his responsibility for the integrity of the structure.
Unfortunately, we are suffering the ill effects of many, many years of bad construction and poor planning.
We live in buildings that leak water. We live in buildings that have been built like that because we haven't designed them properly to allow them to be built properly.
Ask a subcontractor what precautions they're going to take with respect to managing the potential for a mold problem to develop.
Newer materials and the application of material has a lot to do with it.
We have a huge industry here for very comfortable building materials. King Solomon didn't live as comfortably as we do because of the building materials and techniques that we have.
Gypsum board is, a lot of people have referred to it as mold food.
This is a sample of drywall that has Stachybotrys growth on it.
It's just a wonderful culture base for fungi.
You got cardboard on one side, then you have some gypsum, and they add some cellulose to the gypsum to make it workable, and then you have paper on the other side.
It's free food for them, and we've insisted on building our houses out of it.
Even the Three Little Pigs were smart enough not to build a house of paper, because we have the nutrients in the way of these building materials, the gypsum products, the wood products that we're using. Basically, you add the moisture and you've got mold. Here it is.
Really, the building materials that we have now are completely adequate if kept in the correct conditions.
After the energy crisis of the 70s, building construction and building materials changed immediately after that to build buildings and homes that were more energy efficient.
One of the first things that was done is cutting back on ventilation in buildings and trying to save a small amount of money by compromising the amount of fresh air that was being brought into buildings.
If you think of a building as a box, and you have something inside that box, like a fungus that's producing things that can affect human health, it's just a matter of time before the concentration of these compounds inside the box begins to affect human health.
If there is a water problem, say a leaky roof, oh yeah, the roof is leaking and it's been leaking for months, I'll get to it when I have a chance. And that chance never comes.
It would be proper for a landlord to climb up on the roof and take a look at how the roof is working after a big rain.
You want to look for accumulated water on the roof. You want to look for how well the roof is draining. This is a good example of poor drainage on a roof, accumulation of debris which has led to the growth of grass.
A sink overflowing or a toilet overflowing or a bathtub overflowing, any fixture.
If an owner is able to get out to a claim of water damage right away, the beauty of that prompt response is multifold. Mold grows exponentially. So the quicker you can get out there and address the water intrusion and take care of it, the less amount of microbial work you'll have to do.
The heating and ventilation systems in homes is a critical part of the whole dynamics of a home.
Most of them generate water. You can have water incursion right at the HVAC system. So you can have it as a source for growth, but then it also is the transport mechanism.
Too often these systems become what I call mold distribution systems.
The most common construction deficiency that we see is that people bring the exterior siding, whether it's wood or stucco, in contact with the ground. or below ground level.
Weep screed is a little metal flashing that directs the water out. And the problem is if the weep screed is either missing or buried, and buried happens a lot, then the water is trapped inside the wall.
We find that we have plants pushed up right against the house. If we pull them away, we can see that not only is the earth right against the house, but it also is sloped towards the house, trapping the moisture that comes in from the irrigation.
We found in many instances where the homeowners or the property owners have their sprinkler system directed towards the stucco, where it absorbs a lot of that moisture.
And then it will get mold inside the wall.
30% of all insurance claims are clothes washer hose bursting.
It'll swell up and it can burst. And it's a very common area for free-flowing water in a house. This is what I recommend that you install. It's an anti-burst hose.
The shampooing of carpets is really quite a big issue.
If you clean the carpeting and use excess amounts of water, you can also run into a problem where you've given the mold enough moisture to start growing.
If you have tile and if you have a hairline crack and grout, that's enough for moisture to wick in and start to cause damage to the back wall.
What can leak will leak. Toilets will overflow, sinks will leak.
It is in those first 24 to 48 hours that's the most critical period of time that needs to be addressed.
It's a tiny leak. It may be something that you don't know about for a while, but when you find it, you should take care of it immediately. And the end result there is we're not going to have all these mold claims.
If you get out there and take care of the issue, take care of the problem right away, what fault and what blame can they give you, the building owner or the building landlord?
Most of these problems start off as being rather small. And next thing you know, a short, simple claim turns into 3 or 4 years of very expensive litigation.
You never go run screaming from an indoor environment. Don't go back.
Buyer beware, could not be a more appropriate term to this, for this industry.
The only true known method for removing mold from houses is physical removal.